What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So check this out. It looks like SEGA is really on board with Dreamcast games, it seems like, on the Switch. We're going to talk about why, because a new interview in Famitsu seems to be really pointing at them looking even past emulation to get these things done if they need to. Seriously, it sounds like they're really thinking about it. Nothing about Saturn games yet, though, which is kind of sad. Anyway, the MPDs also came out, and surprise, surprise, looks like Spider-Man really took over in that month along with the PS4. There are some other spots on the charts I want to point out as well, including kind of a disappointing performance by Dragon Quest XI. And as always, guys, if you enjoy these news updates and videos, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out with YouTube and everything. First, let's start with some quick news, a couple of game announcements, and what I think is a good path for Nintendo with their Labo setup. Well, let's start with some of the game announcements. Let's start right away with Iron Maiden. Here's this trailer for it. Tell me what it reminds you of, because I have a feeling if you're a bit older, you remember some of the old school games, this might be calling back to something like Duke Nukem 3D, and that's because, well, it's actually using the build engine, which Duke Nukem 3D used as well. In fact, 3D Realms actually says, hey, we're using that build engine after it being kind of put away for about 20 years. And this game is a first-person shooter that's going to, well, I guess you'd say scratch the Duke Nukem itch. Not Duke Nukem Forever, the old Duke Nukems. Definitely not Duke Nukem Forever. Now, they're also saying it's not going to have any type of procedural generation, so everything, all the levels are all hand-built. And yeah, it looks really cool. Q2 2019, it's coming out on everything. I mean, they put box shots up for all of them. The Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a good time for old school first-person shooter fans who enjoyed the Duke Nukems. You can even see like the Dooms and the Quakes, those types of setups. And I think this is going to be really neat when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. Physical copies, too. That's pretty neat to see. It's not normal that you would see something like that for this type of game. This might have been like a digital-only game, but to see it as a physical copy is awesome. You could buy basically a game that's going to play like Duke Nukem 3D in 2019, which is really neat. Oh, and Level 5, interestingly enough, brought back a canceled game. It was originally going to come out on the PlayStation Portable back in, I think it was slated for like 2008 is the last time we saw it, and it keeps getting voted in for Famitsu as one of the more anticipated titles to see something happen with it. And it looks like it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. At least they've said they're bringing it back for the Switch. They don't have any more details other than that. But this is Yashiro, and there was a trailer out and everything. And what this is, which is very interesting, because it's not a typical, I guess, genre you would have in RPG. And it's going to be like a horror game, a turn-based RPG that's supposed to be like in a horror-style game. And not a lot of details have been put out other than what we've seen from the older trailers. All we've heard of at this point is that they are reviving Yashiro for the Nintendo Switch, which is very, very interesting to see. It's not normal that you see a game that was canceled this far back, then come back and go to a different system that's not even with like that parent company. So it was originally coming out for Sony with their PSP. Now it sounds like it's coming out for Nintendo with their Switch. So Level 5, I guess, looked around and said, well, we were already going to put it on a portable system. Okay, well, I guess it's either the Switch or the 3DS. 3DS is kind of on its way out right now. So yeah, let's put it on the Switch. It's doing well in Japan, and maybe even give us a shot overseas as well. So we don't know much more right now other than that it is coming back, and it is going to the Switch. So if you were one of those fans who was really excited for this back on the PSP, get excited. I don't know when it's coming out. Maybe next year we could see it. But there's also the case of it might come out in Japan first, and then you have to wait for it to get localized and brought outside of Japan. But we'll see what happens here. Very, very interesting to see an old canceled game come back, though. And yes, Nintendo is doing what I was hoping they would do with the Labo, because it makes a ton of sense in a classroom setting. They're actually partnering with the Institute of Play to provide Switch systems, and they're providing the Variety Labo kit to several different schools across the United States. In elementary schools, they're specifically targeting ages 8 to 11, and it appears to be about 2,000 or so students will have a chance at this. And this looks like a great idea for students to get into this, because this is a good way, one, for Nintendo to sell the stuff, and two, it does really provide critical learning, just problem-solving skills, and because putting that stuff together, there are adults that obviously had an issue. I mean, Sean couldn't put together the robot kits, so they're not sending robot kits, they're sending variety kits, which was really neat because it has like the piano, the fishing rod, the bike and everything. So I think it's gonna be neat to see this. And this reminds me of a while ago when I actually was in school, in elementary school. They gave us original PlayStations to take home, which was a bad idea because we didn't play the learning games, we rented games. But this isn't new for video games to enter schools. This has been for a long time. Seriously, like that was back in like the mid 90s that they were sending PlayStations home with us in elementary school. So not new, but definitely I think works a lot better than sending us home with PlayStations. All right, guys, some of the quick news out of the way. Let's jump into some of the bigger stuff. Starting right away with Dreamcast games on the Switch. Now, of course, we've seen SEGA put out polls to see what people want on the Switch. We've seen things like Jet Set Radio and Shenmue and others at the top of the charts. So it does seem like SEGA is realizing that Switch users would like to have Dreamcast games on their Switch. Furthermore, there are a lot of people who are saying, if they bring Dreamcast games to the Switch, I'm just going to go buy a Switch because that is awesome to have that on a system that's portable and, you know, also a home console. And if they do some improvements like we've seen M2 do with some of the older Sega Genesis games, yeah, I'm in. But would they be able to do it? Well, this was a question that was actually asked by Famitsu, and they published it yesterday on their website. And this is what it said. At the time, it seemed likely that we'd be able to emulate Dreamcast software on the Nintendo Switch, depending on whether you're emulating software or remaking the source code entirely. Porting something is completely different. I think Sega chose some of the titles based on that. No doubt emulation increased the number of titles they were able to choose from. That was from the president at M2, and then the supervisor went on to say, I think that this time the results of the survey influenced that as well. I haven't really come to a conclusion yet, but I wonder if it'd be better to release more titles from this list in a manner similar to the Virtual Console in their original state, or to handpick a select few with added features. Now, what's interesting here is they talk about how that poll did influence their decisions or even what they thought they would bring to the Switch. They do also talk about in that interview that they were looking at emulating Dreamcast games on the Switch. They also talk a bit about how, well, we also have the source code, so technically we could also just, you know, port the thing over if we needed to. It sounds like they're really looking into this. I mean, really, it sounds like they looked at that poll and said, oh, people do want Dreamcast stuff. And if they were smart, they would look at that and say, well, we could get like $15 for Dreamcast games instead of like, you know, $7 for Genesis games. I mean, seriously, if something like, okay, if something like Skies of Arcadia show up on the Switch, it's a Dreamcast port. How much would you be willing to pay for Skies of Arcadia? Would you think $20 or $25 or $30 is a fair price? I think there are a lot of people who would look at that and say, yeah, I'll pay $20 for Skies of Arcadia, or Jet Set Radio shows up, or maybe Sonic Adventure or Shenmue. There's a lot of games you can pick from the Dreamcast, that just tons of classics, and they're larger games, so they'd probably take more work, but there would also be more benefit and more payoff from it. So I think that's kind of what they're looking at right now. M2 is very talented. I mean, if you go look at any of their Dreamcast games that they've been looking at, but then you also take a look at the Genesis games that they've already done, it's going to be harder to do the Dreamcast games, but they've really proven themselves with these Genesis games that they've taken a look at and they've molded and put on the Switch. Sonic, Thunder Force, these are really, really good looking games on the system, and they added in a lot of features. They even added in like the drop dash and stuff into Sonic. So they've done a lot of work, and I would love to see them tackle Dreamcast games and move them to the Switch because I think there'd be a lot of excitement, and I would like to see the improvements that M2 could do to these things. I mean, we have like leaderboards and recordings and stuff in Sonic. It's crazy. So yeah, let's see what they can do. I'll pay more money for a full Dreamcast game if it's like really, really good and the port's great and everything, or it's emulated well, and it'd be really, really neat to see these Dreamcast games come back, so I hope they do it. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation name changes because, well, these are apparently happening in beta, which is odd. They're going to let everyone change their name once for free, and then you got to pay. If you're a PlayStation Plus member, it's cut in half, so instead of 10, it's 5. Well, there seems to be some fine print getting sent out to people in emails, and those posted on Reset Era and other places as well, where they kind of picked out some of the worrying things. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about, the fine print bullet points that were sent out. Important information before changing your online ID. Not all games and applications for PS4, PS3, Vita, and other PlayStation systems support the online ID change feature. So here's the thing. They're saying not every game is going to do it. They've already told us that, but look at these issues here. You may lose access to content, including paid-for content that you have acquired for your games, including content like add-ons and virtual currency. You may lose your progress within games, including game save data, leaderboard data, and progress towards trophies. So apparently you might just lose your trophies. I'm not really sure how deep this name change thing goes, but it doesn't sound great so far. Parts of your games and applications just might not function properly, both online and offline, and your previous online IDs may remain visible to you and other players in some places. So yeah, it doesn't sound the safest just to change your name, it's amazing that Sony really built the system this way to where they can't change your name, whereas Microsoft had no problem implementing that thing in like the 360 days you were able to do this. It shows really how far apart Microsoft and Sony are really when it comes to their online infrastructure and their setup, because this is pretty bad. Apparently you might lose your save data, your trophies, your purchases because your name has changed. So it sounds like Sony did not build any of this with your name in mind being changed at all. So concerning, yes, I'm gonna let other people try changing their name first and see what's affected, and see if people lose their purchases, if they lose their trophies, if they lose their save games. So yeah, I'll let other people be the guinea pigs. I'm fine with my name for now, and if everything kind of gets ironed out, it was telling when they said it was going to be a beta for name changing, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, those don't put a lot of confidence in me actually doing that. Next up, guys, let's talk about the MPDs. These, of course, are the physical and some digital. There's some that are kind of like the eShop, and I believe Battle.net, and then some others. They also have kind of asterisks next to them and kind of point out which ones are not counted. I definitely know the eShop and Battle.net are not counted, but these, of course, are the sales in the US. These are going to be for September, which does include Spider-Man, of course, and yeah, top the charts. Let's actually take a look at the top 10. Actually, we're going to go to the top 20 because I need to go down to the top 20 since Dragon Quest was not in the top 10. Marvel's Spider-Man is number 1, NBA 2K19 at number 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey at number 3, FIFA 19 at 4, Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 5, Madden NFL 19, Forza Horizon 4, Destiny 2, Super Mario Party at number 9, NHL 19, Dragon Quest 11 at number 11, WWE 2K19, Grand Theft Auto 5, Mario Kart 8, Shinobi Striker at 15, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Crash Bandicoot, Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then Minecraft. Couple things to go over very quickly. Total revenue was actually up 7% from last September in 2017. It's actually at $1.376 billion. It's actually up 7% from $1.285 billion. Spider-Man was massive. I mean, like, very, very massive. It's the highest launch month dollar sales for any PlayStation exclusive in history. That's right, all of PlayStation in history. It's insane. It's the 7th largest launch ever achieved by any game on any PlayStation platform. It immediately jumps, like instantly jumps, to the 3rd best-selling game of 2018. Again, impressive stuff for Spider-Man. We kind of figured it would be that massive. And then, of course, the PlayStation 4 was the number 1 selling system. The Switch was number 2, and the Xbox was number 3. We kind of had numbers leaked out prior, and it wasn't surprising to see the PlayStation 4 at the top. Forza Horizon 4 was the largest launch of an Xbox racing game, which is good because Microsoft's very good with their racing games with the Forza brand. NBA 2K19 is the fastest selling sports game. Awesome. Assassin's Creed Odyssey did outdo Origins. I do think Odyssey's a better game. I think it's just hampered with some of the weird microtransactions, including experience boosters, right? It's a little frustrating there. Shadow of the Tomb Raider should have done better, but it at least did better than Rise of the Tomb Raider, which makes sense considering it launched here with the PS4 next to it, but it still did not do better than just Tomb Raider back from 2013. Dragon Quest 11, it concerns me. It came in at number 11. It should have done better. It should have been in the top 10. I don't know what happened here other than just it was on the PS4 and Spider-Man. It came out, like the same week as Spider-Man. It came out on Tuesday. Spider-Man came out on Friday. I'm sorry, Dragon Quest and Square Enix, people were holding on their money for Spider-Man. Let's be real about this. Spider-Man was massive. It sold really well, and it's a shame to see because I liked Dragon Quest 11. It took me about 70 hours to get through it. I thought it was a good game. It was a very traditional RPG, but this is not a good look for it on the MPD charts. We'll see if it's even around next month. It might not even be on these charts next month. It might just fall completely off. So we'll see. Maybe Square will turn their attention to the Switch version to really streamline that a bit and get that out because it's not looking good here. But yeah, games are doing well. I mean, to make that much money in a month is pretty massive, as we would assume. And Spider-Man and the PlayStation 4 had a lot to do with that. The PlayStation 4 slim 1 terabyte best-selling system. If you go down to like just SKU-wise and everything, Mario Party was the best-selling Switch game. And so overall, good month, and we'll look forward to October, which is going to be very interesting because Call of Duty's out and Red Dead both out in the same month. So we'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be pretty fun. And guys, in our last bit of news, I'm going to leave you with a pretty cool site. If you're playing on the Switch and you're frustrated by the friend codes and you're really annoyed having to try to figure out how to find people through that and everything, well, it looks like a fan actually made a website that works very well with pairing people up. It's called switcher.gg. They posted on the Nintendo Switch Reddit and it kind of blew up from there. Other websites started covering it. And after all of this and everyone checking it out and testimonials and everything, yeah, it looks like it is a legit site that works well and is made by fans, pretty much for fans. The way it works, you sign up, you add the games that you have, and it will work to match you up with other people that have those same games. So maybe you're playing Mario Tennis and you want to find other people around you to play Mario Tennis or even Splatoon or Mario Kart or anything like that. You can kind of meet through the website and get everything set up. And it's a very, very cool idea. And so far, it seems to be working out really, really well. This is definitely coming at the right time with Super Smash Bros. Coming up. And of course, Pokemon. What kind of multiplayer do we have? Pokemon? Well, we'll see when it comes out, I guess. But Smash is the big one here. It's cool to see this website pop up before then because that's going to be the game that everyone's like, I'm going to go on the Nintendo Switch. I'm going to get the Switch and I'm going to be playing it and I'm going to look friends list and everyone's going to be in Smash anyway. So it's going to be cool to meet people, I guess, even through this website. It's free to sign up and it's also integrated with Discord so you can chat pretty easily through there and you can actually just apparently log in with your Discord. So it's worth checking out. You can check the links down below in the sources box and everything, and you can go and check it out for yourself and see what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Dreamcast games possibly going to the Switch. We keep hearing it. They keep talking about it, but they do seem like they noticed when that poll went up and everybody voted for Dreamcast games. So here's hoping 2019 is going to be the year of the Dreamcast showing up on the Nintendo Switch. That'd be so neat. What about the MPDs with Spider-Man at the top? Shocking? Probably not. What about Dragon Quest XI falling out of the top 10? What about seeing something like Tomb Raider still not being able to beat the 2013 Tomb Raider in terms of sales? There are some question marks definitely in the MPDs, but then there's some bright spots as well with things like Spider-Man, of course, that we saw there. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.